Morning Botai, Shavuot Tov. Tonight, Bezat Hashem, we celebrate Chag HaShavuot. There's an interesting shita of the poskim, the Shlach Kadosh, the Taz, and others that Maran Zichron Bracha says to preferably be concerned with is not to make kiddush this evening before Tzedek Kochavim. Tzedek Kochavim this evening is at approximately 8:40. Person should pray a drop later than usual in order to be able to make kiddush at this man. They said that these poskim say that if you make kiddush earlier than this time, then you don't have temimot. You're taking away from the completion of the 49 days of the Omen. Now, although this is not really brought in the Shas, it's not brought in the Rishonim, but preferably wherever possible, this is what we do. Now, again, it is a short night, so a person should try to maximize as much as possible. So make kiddush, eat, enjoy with the family, and then as soon as that's done, I spoke about this yesterday, people ask what's the start time for the Tikkun Leil Shavuot, and the answer is that's kind of a trick question because there is no start time. The start time is as soon as you're done Birkat Hamazon. That's exactly when you start the Tikkun Leil Shavuot. It's a long Tikkun. There's a lot to learn, and it's a pretty short night with nitz being at 5:25. So that's something that a person should bear in mind. Also, the Zohar HaKadosh says tremendous rewards for those who stay up learning all night long on the night of Shavuot. Person has to realize, though, that it's not about the staying up necessarily, it's about the staying up and learning every waking moment. So the person should try to capitalize, if possible, to do a ta'anit dibur, not to speak any irrelevant words during this night, just to focus specifically on the limud, whatever it is that you're learning, whether you're doing the tikkun or other learning, trying to make sure that you're learning every moment. Now, just a few halachot for Shavuot. Number one is that although the minhag to eat dairy is a minhag kadum, it's not meant, person is not supposed to necessarily substitute the meat meals of Shavuot. Nevertheless, for those who specifically want to have a dairy meal, it's interesting, it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but Maran Zichron Bracha, as quoted by the Yalkut Yosef in the new laws of Yom Tov, he writes that preferably a person should have the dairy meal at night and the meat meal during the day. And the reason for that is because, according to many poskim, the mitzvah of basar vayayin applies specifically during the day of Yom Tov as opposed to the night. A person might want to do the opposite, but this is actually better, lefi halacha. The minhag of Maran Zichron Bracha was that all of his Yom Tov meals were all meat, and the only time he ate dairy was by kiddush. He came home from Tikkun Leil Shavuot after nitz in the morning, he made kiddush, he had a little dairy, like cheese sambusak or whatever it is, and that was it, just to be mekayim the minhag. He didn't have any dairy meals. All of his meals were meat. Now, another interesting halacha is that with regards to refreshments during Leil Shavuot, sometimes people make a mistake with this. Technically, if you make brachot, you make a mizonot, ta'ayetz adama, shakol, whatever it is, on refreshments that are being served during Leil Shavuot, if you don't leave the Bet HaKnesset, you don't leave, not the room, but if you don't leave the building all night, you don't need to make more than one bracha rishonah on all of the foods or beverages that you consume on this night. When you leave, that's a different story. You need new brachot rishonot. However, if you stay in the confines of the building, you don't need a new bracha rishonah. Bracha achrona is a totally different story. Bracha achrona, every food or drink that you drink has a time limit for which you can recite bracha achrona. The time during which it gets digested in your system. If you're feeling hungry or thirsty for that food or drink again, the halacha is that you've lost the bracha achrona and you can't make it any longer, which means even if you're eating and drinking all night long and at the end of the night you make a bracha achrona, that covers just the last session of eating or drinking that you had. It doesn't cover all the brachot achrunot that you were chayav for throughout the night. And therefore, it's important that if you're eating or drinking a shi'ur, the proper amount, a kazait of foods, a revi'it of beverage throughout the night, the halacha is that in order not to lose the opportunity to say the bracha achrona, you should say bracha achrona as soon as you're done with that. You're done with that drink, you're done with that fruit, or with that cake, or whatever it is. Make an ala mechya, make an nefashot, make an ala etz. Immediately when you're done with that eating session, so that you don't lose the opportunity to make the bracha achrona later. However, question becomes, hey, wait a second, after making the bracha achrona, now do I have to make a new bracha rishona if I want to continue eating or drinking? It is a machloket poskim. Maran Zichron Bracha in Chazon Ovadia Brachot. page Kuf Ayin Zayin, says Meforash, Safek Brachot La'akel, and since I'm only making the Brachot Acharonot in order not to lose them, not to cut off, not because I'm done eating or drinking, it's just because I don't want to lose the opportunity to make the Brachot Acharonot, you do not lose the Brachot Rishonot, they stay put. You may continue eating and drinking as usual afterwards without reciting a new Bracha Rishonah afterwards. And then again, if you continue eating and drinking and you had a shi'ur and you want to make another Bracha Achronah, you do it again, which means throughout the night you can make one Bracha Rishonah on the foods or drinks that you're making. And if you eat a bunch of times, you'll make multiple Brachot Acharonot for the foods or drinks that you've been eating or drinking throughout the night. Have a wonderful day. Bezat Hashem. Tonight, Mincha and Arvit is going to be at 7:45. Like we said, try not to make Kiddush before 8:40. Have a wonderful day and Chag Sameach. Tizkor Shem Rabot.